We are now recording, Chair.
Thank you. I must explain that this is not a meeting of the committee, as virtual meetings are not allowed to take place and haven't been allowed to take place since the 7th of May. However, face-to-face meetings have been suspended until the government lifts the restrictions on social distancing, which will allow us to return to the council chamber. Therefore, today's meeting is to allow the councillors to have discussions on decisions that are needed to be made via delegated authority. The delegation is to the clerk in consultation with the chair and vice chair of the council, and can delegate authority to an officer but not an elected member. Our discussions today will therefore assist the clerk in her deliberation. There will be no voting and no decisions made by the committee. Councillors do not need to make declarations, but are advised not to comment on any matters where they may have an external influence. Thank you. There are no members of the public this evening, and nobody has asked to return, so I'll move swiftly on to point 1 of the agenda, which is the chairman's announcements. There's only really the thing that I need to advise everybody about really is the developments on St Margaret's Loop. The charity have refused our offer of £20,000 plus costs and reverted the offer of a nominal fee, but have to take all of the bridges and the structures in to our for us to maintain. Otherwise, they are seeking a purchase cost of well over £100,000, and it could be significantly over £100,000 for the land, but will then retain the bridges. On this basis, the clerk has escalated this to our local MP and asked them to take it to the rail minister for them to intervene with Railway Paths to find a compromise position. At the same time, she's also approaching West Sussex County Council as to whether they may consider whether they could take the bridges on without any commutable sum to unlock the stalemate that we now find ourselves in. We wait for final position, but at the moment the project hangs in balance and not due to any part of the town council, but I will keep you updated as there's any changes of that, which is really disappointing at the moment, but fingers crossed it's not the end of the road. So we need to remain positive and work tirelessly towards that. So unfortunately it's taking a little bit longer and it's more problematic than we would like. Moving on to East Court Live, with regards to East Court Live, it's possible that government pushback of the opening date could affect this going ahead. Our intention is to submit to Mid Sussex District Council for evaluation, and they have the final say on the events at the moment due to COVID, and we're going to send this to them by the 14th of June. We'll know more then, but again, we'll keep everybody posted of that. On a very exciting note, I'd like to welcome, who's down at the bottom of my screen, I don't know where she's on yours, Alice Fletcher, who was offered a position at the beginning of this week for our new Community and Tourism Manager. And she's due to start with us, hopefully, on the 12th of July. So she's very kindly offered to come and observe the meeting today and to meet the committee, because obviously she'll be working with us all. So a very warm welcome to you, Alice.
Oh, thank you very much, Helen.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to get started.
Thank you. We can't wait for you to get started. So we look forward to working together with you. I would just, by the end of this, I would really like to thank Roger as well for, he's done massively well at holding the fort in a very difficult time. And he's done a sterling job, and he's supported the clerk on everything that she's had to do. And they've worked together as a great team. And I know he will continue to work incredibly well with Alice. So I think we're forging together with a really good partnership and moving on, adding to that team. So very exciting times, to be fair, for the community and tourism and for us as a committee.
Excellent.
Thank you. Right, so I'm moving on now to item 2, which is delegated decisions. The clerk is seeking advice on the following matters for delegated decision. 1 is the hire and booking charges for 2022-23 and 2023 24. It is all in the report, and the proposed figures are on Appendix A of your report. The committee are asked to be in favour of asking for a 2-year in advance of setting the figures, and we oppose that the figures are supported and the costs are supported moving forward. Does anybody have any questions on that? Yes, Councillor Amos.
Could I ask if any of these rates refer to the thing that transmits for the radio station, the transmitter, for Meridian FM? Does any of the stuff that we're talking about refer to that, or is that separate?
No, we don't charge them for the transmission. They have that gratis. So that's when the committee consider gratis, which you've already done this year. So we will bring it back again to consider for next year, and decide whether you want to continue allowing that to be given free. Then that will be the time to talk about it. These are just the higher charges of the various different rooms.
Does anyone have any questions? Are we happy to propose those figures to be supported moving forward? Thank you very much. Thank you, Town Clerk.
Thank you.
And the second point on that, moving on from hall charges, it's to the car park barrier. The car park barrier, again, it's fully described in the report, but to cap it for you, the area where the bike shelter is and the staff smoking shelter, it's an area that we wish to retain for the town council staff to be able to park at any time, and also then for anyone that's hiring the facilities that have officers there and hire those facilities on a regular basis. It will preserve that. The other benefit, of course, is there's not going to be that dark corner, which I think is quite important just to note, for cars to be there out of hours. And the tennis club will obviously be able to park where they're supposed to, rather than going into that corner as well. The due diligence has been done on quotes, and I would like the committee to support that decision to be delegated to the town clerk to spend around the 3,000 mark on sorting out the car park. Is there any questions on that? Any questions? Yes, Councillor Sweatman.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I did talk to Paul, that I think was looking into the logistics of the barrier. There's one caveat I would put in, is that he come up with 2 ideas, and where, as we know, as you come in, there's 2 face-to-face car parking, so we're going straight down the middle, and I would like to see like the fence come up to where we come in, but the actual box with the electrics straight ahead. The other alternative was to put it near the back entrance door, which would save time, or a bit less time to get into the electricity supply. I think that would be a big mistake, because when we have East Court Lives and busy periods like that, that is going to be quite an obstacle and an obstruction, and with people coming in and out the back door with whatever, there's going to be a bit of a hazard. So I suggest that the line would go dead straight with the box and the barriers coming down there, so it's further away from the door, if you see what I mean.
Thank you, Councillor Sweatman. I'm trying to visualise what you're saying. I've seen one set of plans, and I believe that set of plans with the barrier is the one nearer the door.
No, it's going straight. The other, what he was saying was, you go up to where the car park bays end, then you do a left with the barrier, and then come straight across, so the actual gap is a bit less, but the box would be right outside the back door. So it'd be better if you went straight with the fence in the straight line. So it's all in the straight line.
I'm not quite sure how to respond to that, because I still can't picture it. I apologise for that.
If I might, Chair, at the moment what we're asking for is support for the principle of the idea, the logistics of exactly what's going to go where. even I haven't had those conversations yet.
Yeah, I've seen one
But
thing, so
we'll take that on board when we get to there. And I take the point. You don't want anything too close to the back door, so you don't want anything to be in the way. I get that.
Well, it wouldn't be common sense. That's my point.
Yeah, fair enough.
Councillor Amos?
Do you think this will actually work in ensuring only the people that have an entitlement to the spaces actually get the spaces? Or is this just a gesture?
I do think it's going to work to stop people. I do think it's going to work to deter certain groups of people who are currently parking in that part of the car park. The park down by the tennis court, we get the tennis court players there. They're not supposed to park here at all. And if they've got to walk a bit further, then we'll start having conversations with them because they'll be complaining, and we'll be able to point out to them yet again they shouldn't be parking here at all. The youngsters, should I dare I say, that we tend to get of an evening, they won't be able to get into that area of the car park. So that means that they assumedly will find it less attractive to be parked in areas which are under better lighting and better scrutiny. So I think it will definitely get them out of there. But with regards to the tenants and the councillors and the staff, I do think that this is going to mean that we won't be coming back from meetings or where the leader comes in during the week, or the town mayor or whoever it is, scratching, trying to find somewhere to park when it's busy. And I do think from that point of view, yes, it is going to work. If it wasn't for that being the main reason, I wouldn't be suggesting this.
So at the moment, we're agreeing in principle that the delegated decision goes to the town clerk to be able to spend the money. The details yet of what it's going to look like can be discussed another time, but it's the delegated decision to spend money. Do I have any more questions? Is everyone happy with that and happy for them to be delegated? Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, town clerk.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't know if it actually says it in the report or not, but just to be aware, councillors will know how to be able to access into that area. I don't know yet whether it's going to be through our staff badges, our councillor badges, or whether or not it's going to be pressing a code. But if it's pressing a code, well, either which way, councillors will also have the access. Won't just be us.
Thank you for the clarification. Thank you. So moving on to item 3. Any items arising from the report from officers? So the report was mostly an update, and we're waiting on Natural England to let us get into the cemetery. There's lots of regrowth of grass around. We've had a great growing weather in the last few weeks, but we are mowing. But the Queen's Road Cemetery is a safety matter, and we need to get in to sort the badges first before we can get that all tidied up. We are reassuring people that the committee are well aware of the issues and that we have a plan, but we cannot do anything until we get the licence. The beacon has also been around on social media. This is in progress, and the beacon will be moved to King George's Field soon, and that will be available for better organisation for community use, including the Royal British Legion, who want to use it in August. Does anyone have anything else they want to talk about? Yes, Councillor Matthews, good evening.
Good evening, thank you. I've got a few questions just for clarification, really, and updating. And the first one is on page 2, the partnership agreement. On my copy, there's a lot of noise going on. It sounds as if somebody's sleeping up somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know where it's coming from.
Don't know where that's going on. On partnership agreements, street nameplates and graffiti flyer, I've just got a cross there. Can we have how many there are on that? And then on the King Street toilets, that last paragraph, an alternative solution may need to be considered. It would have to be a ground floor unit which does not leave sufficient room to get buggies in the baby change unless we remove the toilet. So if you can just explain what that means.
Chair, are you happy for me to take that? I have had long conversations with Mrs. Merrick about this.
Okay. Do you want me to finish off?
Oh, is there more? Are we okay?
Yeah, sorry. On the council chamber on page 3, bottom of the page, Council Chamber, an aesthetic response to the interior of the Council Chamber has been taken into consideration by a handyman, which discreetly constructing the additional storage required. Can you tell me what that means? It means absolutely nothing to me. And then I think somebody's mixing up cement. That's what I can hear. Then on page 8, Queen's Road Cemetery, I have no influence on this matter, even though I do belong to the Badger Trust. As you say, I don't need to make a declaration, but I would just like a further update from what you said.
Yep.
It's not really clear. It says the formal application was submitted in February. However, Natural England considers the application till significantly later in the year. This does mean it can turn into a rush for our officers to finalise any requirement. That's not very well written. I don't really understand what it means. And then on the second from last paragraph, for example, Clara reported an incident of antisocial behaviour that was dealt with by Harry. This was in the Queen's Road Cemetery. I'm intrigued to know what the antisocial behaviour was. And in the last paragraph, it says, in regards to the project, we would hope by this summer, we will be able to relocate the badgers from the top of the cemetery. So can you give me an update on that? And last, on the burial report for Mount Noddy, the burial demand remains high as the backlog of funerals have started coming through as restrictions to mourners are lifted. I'm slightly intrigued by that. Does that mean to say that people that died weeks ago have been waiting until the numbers are allowed to increase? I mean, I found that quite macabre, but, you know, each to their own. But could you clarify that? That's a lot. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Matthews. We're starting at the top then. Please correct me if I go out of order, but I think I've got it in order. So street names and graffiti, you're right, there is an X, there isn't a number of street signs. So I don't know if you have an update on that, Town Clerk.
I don't, because I didn't notice it. I will get it and I will get it sent out. That's Alison. Yeah.
Yeah. The King Street toilets, unfortunately, the changing unit keeps getting vandalised, and it's where there are people that have a problem with drinking tend to hang out, and that there's various damage keeps happening. The problem is to have a toilet big enough to get a buggy in for people to get in with their children to then change them, leaves not much room to put something more permanent and stronger and to have the job of changing a child. There's a toilet in there at the moment, so to be able, you can't leave a pushchair outside. So it's the conversation that if it was to keep happening and the costs keep reoccurring, that then if there's something more permanent, a solution might have to be made. And that might be a case of there's no toilet in that room and you just change it as a baby changing unit as opposed to a toilet and a baby changing unit. And that's something that needs to be discussed as and when that arises. But it's something that's on the radar because it's a regular occurrence of spending on the same thing. So is that okay on those two?
Yeah, just one point on that. Being this is recurring, can we notify the police and ask them to do a regular check on what's happening in there? I don't know whether they do at the moment, but it might be worth asking them to call in and check them.
We discussed in the past, didn't we? I know it came up in one of the meetings about cameras and stuff like that. You can't put cameras or anything in toilets, so that was out. And then I'm sure the police do it as a patrol anyway because of the people that are outside that. So I would imagine it's already on their patrol route. And I can see the Town Clerk nodding. It's already on their patrol route, Councillor Matthews. So I'm sure they're doing everything they can to assist it. And Mrs. Merricks is keeping an eye on it to see if it improves and becomes less of an issue. So we will keep you updated. She writes it in her report regularly. So We'll keep you
Thank you.
updated. The council chamber, I'm going to have to pass you on to the town clerk. I think that's just to make the storage look nice and in keeping with the listing and the details of the room. Am I correct?
Yeah, yes, you are. We were deliberately a little bit vague about that because obviously this is going into the public domain, and I don't want to actually make it too obvious exactly where and what it is. But there is a new storage unit in the council chamber, and when next in, go and have a look, and then come and ask me where it is.
Okay, thank you.
And then I think we moved straight on to, if I'm correct, we moved then on to page 8 and the badgers and the Queen's Road Cemetery. And the situation really is probably the detail you want is probably from the town clerk, because you want to know about the antisocial behaviour specifically. I'm not sure if that's divulgeable and what it was, but the application to Natural England, I think it's just a process, isn't it, town clerk, of when you accept it in and all the things that you have to do, because they're asking for more monitoring of the badgers, they're asking for more photographs, which is regularly being sent to them. So they can't make the decision until all of this evidence has been sent to them, which Clara and Harry are working on, as well as Giles, who is doing it out of the goodness of his heart now.
Okay.
Yeah, just to add a little bit to that, apologies, it's not very clear in the report. I will roundly box Harry's ears tomorrow. No, I won't. Not at all. What happened is that we submitted our application to Natural England, and then they came back to us and said, yes, thank you very much, but we're not going to deal with this until the middle of May. And then they came back and said, now can we have some more updated stuff? And I think that was just simply they weren't dealing with, they just said, we're not looking at things at the moment, so are you happy for us to look at it later, or do you want to withdraw? We said, no, it's in. We need a decision on this, and obviously deal with it as soon as you possibly can. So although we submitted in February, they are only looking at it now, and we are waiting for them to come back and hopefully tell us that we can proceed, and then we can get those badgers out to the top part of the cemetery, and then it's going to be a rolling process with regards to moving them further and reclaiming the cemetery, so we can get back in there, sort it out, and make sure that it is an appropriate place for those who are resting there.
Can I come back, Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah. Are we actually succeeding in blocking the entrance? Because I noticed in the report it says that they're being seen in Brooklands. Now I live 2 spits away from that cemetery, and I notice in my garden, unfortunately, even though I quite like badgers, but I'm going off them rapidly, is that
join the club.
They're actually getting into my garden, and whatever I do, even to the extent of pouring concrete into where they get under the fence, they barge their way through. There must be a great big ball badger somewhere, digging great clumps out of my garden. So I think there is more badger activity. So are they being blocked off? Because there does seem to be a lot more badger activity outside the cemetery.
We're not allowed to do anything until we get the license. So at the moment, they can come and go as they please. So we're not allowed to do anything at all until we get the license. Then the idea will be that they can go out and they can't come back in. But we can't start doing that until we've got the license to do so. So at the moment, they're just free roaming. And yeah, they're everywhere. We know they're in Brooklands. We know they're in people's back gardens. There are certain things you can do which are too late. It's too late for us, which we can't do them. So if you want to talk offline, we'll be very happy to give you a few tips that we've picked up, which can help deter badgers from coming into your domestic garden.
Councillor Neville Walker gave me one tip of how to deter them, but unfortunately I can't share that.
It's probably the same one I'm going to tell you, so no, perhaps not.
Okay, thank you.
And your final point, Councillor Matthews, was about the burial at Mount Noddy, and I think that was covered. But the report will be coming out to you tomorrow, because Sarah was actually on holiday, so the report will be coming out to you tomorrow. But I think your point is people waiting is really as it is.
Oh, right.
People have chosen to wait.
Okay,
Um,
thank you.
It's not necessarily a case of people have chosen to wait. It is partly that, and it is partly choice, but it is also the fact that it has been backlogged, and we've had to wait for the spaces to go through the funeral parlours and then coming forth to us, and it has been a backlogged process.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My next councillor with the hand was Councillor Amos. Thank you. You've got some points to raise.
Yes. Could I ask 3 questions, please? And ask one, and then you answer it. Then I'll answer it.
Okay. Thank you.
My first question is, why is the ice cream van not being allowed to sell soft drinks? Because from my point of view, it would be good if the ice cream van could sell soft drinks and be in competition with the cafe that's there, because that way they wouldn't have a monopoly either.
Town clerk.
Yeah, the gentleman who runs the concession is our the gentleman who also has the concession for the bar for East Court for the Meridian Hall, and we've been trying to give him a little bit of a push and a plus for the fact that he's had absolutely no work over the last year with COVID. So that was why we asked the ice cream man not to sell the ice creams. The reality is the ice cream vans are on the estate day and night, and I suspect they're selling their soft drinks anyway, because I can't police it.
Okay, thank you.
And Councillor Amos, you had another point.
Yeah, 2 more. The Mayor's Parlour's window cost £2,597.88. What was the size of this window, and what was it made out of?
I haven't got the slightest idea what the size of it is, but they are the standard windows that you can go in and see. But the reason they cost so much is because they are the sash windows that have to, because we're a listed building, they have to comply to various rules and this, that and the other, and they cost an absolute fortune. And we have reported that time and time again. We have actually had a new lead with regards to windows, which we are going to start looking at with the hope of getting those prices down, because to date it's just been an absolute nightmare. Every time we're having to replace windows, they cost a fortune because we've got to go through this particular hop, step and a jump, and the amount of people available to do those fittings just seem to be very, very few and far between. But we are very aware of it, and it is something that I said. But we have very, very recently, the last couple of weeks, got a new lead, so we're going to see if we can get better quotes.
Thank you. And finally, the external ashtray cost £150. I did a very quick search, and I found that you can get these for about £45. What type of ashtray was it? And if it was a small one, why did it cost so much?
Pass, going to have to come back to you. I'm afraid I don't even know the dimensions of it because I don't smoke, so I don't use it. But I'll have to. I'll come back to you. Come back to you on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Amos. Councillor Osborne.
Thank you very much. Yes. Page 2. You've got an item here under partnership agreements, which is bins, and the suggestion here is to move one of the bins at the North End Parade to Heathcote Drive. Now I can, excuse me, I can understand that there's a need for one at Heathcote Drive. We've got a post office and a shop and all the rest of it there. But on the parade, you've actually got a fish and chip shop, and you've got a shop there where all the school kids go in. Are we sure that one is going to be enough there? And bearing in mind that when they're emptied, they've got to go to the site anyway. It doesn't take much longer to empty 2 bins than 1, because now you've added Heathcote Drive to the list of sites. It seems to me that, unless you can tell me otherwise, I would have thought that probably 2 bins there was a reason for that in the first place that were needed.
The best answer I can give you about bins is that we have relocated one. What we're not allowed to do is we're not allowed to increase the number of bins. Bins have to be approved by Mid Sussex District Council because they are collected by them, not by us. So all we can do is shift them around. So whilst I take on board absolutely what you say, unless you can identify one that can be moved from another part of the town, or we can identify another one, then we're not going to be able to put 2 there.
So I get the impression from what you say that you rather agree with me that it's a bit of a nonsense, really. You'll have 2 bins there if they're required, you know.
If 2 bins there are required, then we'll have to look again at trying to find another bin from somewhere else. But it means taking a bin from somewhere else, and it's just the perennial problem constantly with this issue of bins and dog bins. We're not allowed to put new ones in. We can only, I mean, it can be a new bin, but we can only recite it from somewhere else, and then of course you take it away from somewhere else. It is a nonsense, but it is the position we're in with the district council. But we can take it up with them again.
Yeah, perhaps we should do if it seems necessary. We got 11 councillors. Perhaps one of them will take up the case. You never know. Live in hopes.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you very much.
Town Mayor, good evening. Welcome. You have your hand up.
Yes, first of all, I wanted to apologise, Madam Chairman, because I've just come post haste from a Mid Sussex meeting on governance, and I'm very, very sorry. It's only just finished late, but I just wondered how far we've got on the officer's report. Is that what we're dealing with?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a couple of points, if I might. I just wanted to ask a question about the tennis club with relation to car park barriers. The tennis club, it says, regularly reminded by lease prohibits parking. So I just wanted to ask the question of the town clerk, if I may. Does that mean that that they're not allowed to park at Eastcourt when using the tennis club? And I must declare an interest. I'm a member of the tennis club, even though it won't let me at the moment.
That's exactly what it means, Town Mayor. There is the lease is very clear that the access that is granted to the tennis club is pedestrian access only. We simply do not have the room for 5, 6, 7 cars being parked at Eastcourt by tennis players. Sadly, I'm constantly reminding them of that.
Oh, bless you. Thank you very much. I shall take my bike in future. And there was one other point, the partnership agreement. It says the vandalised bus shelter owned and managed by the council on Dunnings Road was safe, and I take it it was replaced because it was unsafe. That's on page 2 of the report.
Yeah.
Never mind. Thank you very much.
It had been vandalised and it was broken, and therefore we've replaced it with the polycarbonate sheeting to make it safe.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It does say on the report that it was managed by the council, was safe and replaced by Martin.
Yeah. It's been made safe.
It's wonderful to be with you tonight. Thank you very much. And I do apologise once again for being late. Thank you.
If there is nothing else, I'm afraid that concludes our meeting tonight. The next meeting of this committee will be face to face, and that will be on Thursday, the 9th of September 2021. And if I could ask you now, Town Clerk, to stop recording.